How's it going, you guys? So in this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about why I believe athletes should try a ketogenic diet. So most of the people that have been following me, pretty much everyone who's been following me knows that I've been following a ketogenic diet for about 7 months now. I do MMA and powerlifting probably at an intermediate level, relatively speaking. I've been doing MMA for, it's been, 3 years now? Focusing mostly on full contact kickboxing. I spar hard rounds with competitive fighters on a regular basis. For an hour I just do round after round after round, which is highly glycotic. It's something that most people think you need carbohydrates in order to do. And right now I'm training for my first powerlifting competition. I'm pretty close. I'm probably about, 3 months away from squatting 425, deadlifting 525, and bench pressing 315. So I consider myself an intermediate in all aspects. In November of last year, which is about 9 months ago, I suffered from a pretty bad hip injury. When I went keto, within weeks, my hip injury just seemed to vanish. It didn't hurt me anymore. It was a severe strain on the hip that the doctor told me would take 3 to 6 months to heal, something like that, 3 months to heal at least. And I said I couldn't be lifting heavy for 3 months. After going keto, I was lifting heavy within four days, and I started hitting PRs in all of my lifts within 2 weeks of going keto. I dropped 20 pounds, so I was not even looking to lose weight. The entire reason why I wanted to do keto in the first place is because of the sports performance enhancing benefits that I've been seeing and hearing about. And so, interestingly enough, I went from 200 pounds down to 180 pounds within 4 weeks, and at the same time, I was adding weight to all of my lifts from every single week. I was suddenly progressing at a tremendous rate. Compared to before, I was kind of like at a plateau. I noticed I recovered faster. I noticed I was never sore. My hip injury pretty much just vanished. I was able to sleep better, sleep deeper, and my productivity and my motivation and my mental health improved on all levels. I noticed I no longer was stressed. I used to have this all this never-ending stress in the background. I used to always feel sore. It was always hard for me to go back to my workouts. I just felt like I was overtraining on a regular basis. And the worst thing is, especially immediately following my workouts, but just in general, if I didn't eat every 3 hours, I would get hangry. Interestingly, on a ketogenic diet, I notice I don't get hangry at all. In fact, after about the 6 week mark. The 6 week mark, I noticed initially, these days, even if I slip up or something, if I accidentally ingest too many carbohydrates, it doesn't take me long to get back into ketosis. But initially, it took about 6 weeks. I suppose I became fat adapted, where my energy systems are all reliant on fat as fuel and ketones. And essentially, I was able to fast for over 20 hours and work out vigorously 3 times within those 20 hours without needing to eat anything, let alone have any carbohydrates. Because I was on a ketogenic diet, you don't eat more than 20 grams per day of net carbs. So I was able to hit my jiu-jitsu session, my kickboxing session, and a hard lifting and conditioning session all within that 20-hour window of fasting. It was more like within 8 hours, my 8-hour day, but I hadn't eaten in 20 hours. And I didn't even feel hungry. Didn't feel like I needed to eat until the very end of the day. Even then, I wasn't really as hungry as I normally would be on a on a carb-based diet. So it's fascinating, like, how much energy I have and how I'm like a Superman all of a sudden when I follow a ketogenic diet. Most of the trainers that I talk to are very, like, scared of this idea. I wouldn't say that they just disagree. They seem scared. Because when I present them with any kind of evidence, they just freak out, and it's like their brain short circuits, and they start spitting out all this, like, irrelevant nonsense that doesn't make any sense. This is actually very common. This is actually not an exception. This is a norm. The reason, so first of all, for anyone who doubts, this book will explain everything. This is The Art and Science of Low Carb Performance by Doctors Jeff Volek and Stephen Finney. They're PhD researchers. One is a registered dietitian, the other one's a medical doctor. And one has a degree and a PhD in sports physiology, and the other one, I believe, has a PhD in physiology, something like that, or nutrition. And so, I mean, they're very well credentialed. One went to MIT. They both went to some of the highest colleges in the world, most well-respected colleges in the world. Together they published well over 200 human studies on ketogenic diets and sports performance and these things. Why haven't you guys heard of them? I don't really know. I think it's just because everyone is brainwashed with the dogma that they need carbohydrates. The thing is, so, you know, typically you're going to hear people say, oh, like, I tried a keto diet and I just felt like crap. So, you know, I realized I needed carbs to survive and carbs to perform. Yeah, I think it's foolish, but listen, the reason why people think that way is because basically, sorry, I don't know any other way to put this, but they're dumb, and they didn't actually research how are you supposed to implement the ketogenic diet. They probably weren't supplementing with salt, probably weren't supplementing with potassium, and they probably didn't last longer than 4 weeks on the diet. So, and also they were probably eating too many carbs. So listen, if you tried a keto diet and you felt like crap, and you only tried it for less than 4 weeks, it takes 3 days for your body to start producing ketones. Then it takes about 2 weeks for your body to start, for your body to change its physiology and its metabolism to start running on ketones. Your body literally has to shift from, you know, decades of burning glucose for energy over to burning ketones, fatty acids, and amino acids as fuel. So it takes about 2 weeks for your body's cells to adapt to burning fat as fuel. And so it takes 2 weeks for your body to start burning that fat and using it as energy. In those 2 weeks is when you're going to have what they call the keto flu, and you're going to feel like crap. Then for sports performance, a big problem that athletes have is they have the nocebo effect. So what I did when I was hitting those PRs initially, I knew, so you have to lift heavy and continue your normal workouts in the keto adaptation phase. If you do not continue your normal workouts, if you don't continue exercising like you want to exercise when you're keto adapted, your body's not going to adapt to burning ketones as fuel for those activities. So obviously you're going to have a dip in performance, especially if you start to underperform. You're going to lose performance anyway. Well, even if you were on carbs, if you start working out at a lower intensity, you lose training adaptations. So of course your performance is going to go down. But so training heavy and training hard in the keto adaptation phase makes you keto adapt faster, because you're forcing your body to adapt to burning ketones as energy. And that's what I knew, and so I keto adapted within 2 weeks initially, is what it seems like. I started breaking plateaus, hitting PRs, I felt like I was on steroids. It was that crazy. And I can tell you, I've never touched a performance-enhancing drug in my life. But the other thing is, so that's the first thing. The second thing is eating enough salt. So yeah, it takes time to keto adapt. So if you give up in 2 weeks before your body's even keto adapted, you've never even gone into deep ketosis. You haven't even gotten keto adapted yet. So you haven't actually even you have nothing to judge the ketogenic diet based on. Like saying, oh, a ketogenic diet didn't work for me. Guy, you weren't even keto adapted yet. It takes time. That's the biggest thing, and that's the most common thing. The second thing is that the second thing that you need to worry about is supplementing with salt. So Rob Wolf, for example, I had a little conversation with him on my Instagram recently because I read his book Wired to Eat, where he talks about adding carbohydrates, and he always talks about how ketogenic athletes, or how athletes need carbs. He thought, because he was a big low carber for a long time. And what he found is the same thing that all the ketogenic dieters found. In fact, go on Keto Gains community on Reddit so you can read the information there. Essentially, especially athletes, so the keto flu is actually caused by fluid loss and electrolyte imbalances, so a salt deficiency. If you don't supplement with 3 to 5 grams of sodium, preferably 5 grams, so 5 grams of sodium, you're going to feel lethargic, you're going to feel nauseous, you're going to have insomnia, you're going to feel tired, you're going to have cramps, you're going to feel like crap. For me, when I don't supplement with salt, I get tired, I get lethargic, I get depressed. These are all common, these are symptoms of low salt, low potassium, electrolyte imbalance. The reason why this happens is because when you go on a ketogenic diet, your body does dump water. It dumps water, it dumps sodium. And so you're going to need to supplement with salt. You're going to need to supplement with at least 5 grams of salt per day, especially as an athlete. And if you fail to do that, then you're going to feel like crap, and you're going to blame it on the ketogenic diet. It's not the keto diet. It's the fact that you didn't learn how to do it properly. People just think, oh, I cut carbs, I'm on a keto diet. No, you're not. So you must supplement with 5 grams of sodium per day, and then about 1 gram of potassium per day, I'd say. And I mean supplemental. So that means taking new salt, which is in a blue container, and it's potassium citrate. I take about a 1/4 teaspoon of new salt, and then about 1/2 of a teaspoon of sea salt in the morning. And then I'll do the same thing again at nighttime, and I'll take extra sodium during the day. This is essential if you just want to feel your best. And even people who are on a carb-based diet, who are extremely athletic, probably are not eating enough sodium if they're eating clean. This is actually a pretty big problem because everyone thinks salt's bad for them. So there's that. Then the third problem people have is they go into it half-heartedly, and they're like, all right, I'm on a ketogenic diet. And they eat oatmeal, they eat beans, they eat peas, they eat carrots. And they're getting like 50 to 100 grams of net carbs per day. And they might go over their carb threshold even by a little bit. And especially in the first 4 weeks, you're going to have chronic hypoglycemia because you're feeding your body just enough carbs to prevent it from burning fat as fuel, to prevent it from keto adapting or producing ketones. But you're not providing your body enough carbohydrates to fill its sugar stores, its glycogen stores. And so you end up with chronic hypoglycemia, and then you wonder why the ketogenic diet didn't work. That's probably because you weren't on a ketogenic diet. You're doing an extremely low carb diet where you're just getting a little bit of carbs, just enough to keep you out of ketosis, and then you're chronically hypoglycemia. And then you eat a banana and you're like, oh, I feel better now. Yeah, that's because you're hypoglycemia, you dumbass. So the solution to that is to stop being stupid and just completely remove carbs and up your fats. Eat more fat, you know. And so another thing that can help you keto adapt and help with your sports performance is supplementing with MCTs, supplementing with coconut oil. These things will help to boost your blood ketones. And I use brain octane oil, just a half a teaspoon with 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. This coconut oil is a longer lasting ketogenic fuel, and C8 MCT oil is kind of like a short-term high spike in ketones. So there's a couple reasons why a ketogenic diet might boost sports performance. So, of course, you can read this book and it'll tell you everything. So number one, when you're on a ketogenic diet, so a carb-based diet gives you about 2,000 calories worth of energy in the form of liver glycogen, blood glucose, and muscle glycogen. When you're exercising, once you burn through the 2,000 calories, then where does your body go? Well, if you're not fat adapted, you're not going to be able to tap into your fat stores very effectively. And so you're going to feel like you need more carbs and you're going to need to refuel eating exogenous carbohydrates, right? In a ketogenic diet, you have well over 40,000 calories worth of body fat that your body can convert into energy. Interestingly enough, your body can convert certain fatty acids and amino acids into glucose to refuel glycogen, and there's actually studies that show that ketogenic athletes that are keto adapted, elite marathon runners compared to elite carbohydrate burning marathon runners, they actually restore glycogen faster and they outperform the carb-based athletes. And that's probably because your body on a ketogenic diet immediately pulls glycogen from fat stores and turns it into glycogen. And during the race is fueled by ketones and fatty acids, so you're pulling your energy from inside during the activities. So you have unlimited energy, over 40,000 calories worth of it, so you never need to stop and eat extra carbs. And then after the workout is done, your body immediately goes to work restoring its energy and recovering without needing exogenous carbohydrates. So it takes the fatty acids from your fat stores and the ketones and whatnot, and immediately restores glycogen and immediately restores your body's energy source. So you recover faster because your body is pulling its recovery and its energy from your fat stores. And so that's what makes a ketogenic diet special, and that's the main reason why so many, especially marathon runners, rely on a ketogenic diet for enhancing their performance. Now, for bodybuilders and strength athletes, there's other benefits as well. One of the main benefits is that ketogenic diet, so ketones, blood ketones, specifically I believe it's beta-hydroxybutyrate, essentially it actually helps to recycle leucine, which is a anabolic amino acid, you can think of it as. It basically upregulates protein synthesis. So when you have greater turnover, greater recycling of leucine, of blood leucine, it's leucine sparing, and it's also muscle sparing and protein sparing. It helps to spare branched chain amino acids in the blood. That gives you a greater rate of protein synthesis, which helps you recover faster and grow faster and perform better. These are very important considerations when doing a ketogenic diet, and they make a huge difference. Imagine like all these people who they take steroids to upregulate protein synthesis, they take their BCAAs on a regular basis, when all you need to do is remove the carbs and you get the same benefits, right? Of course, not necessarily the same benefits as steroids or something, but still. And so there's many other mechanisms in which a ketogenic diet could possibly boost sports performance, but I think the most important ones are the protein-sparing benefits, the branched-chain amino acids and leucine recycling benefits, and then just the fact that you have an endless supply of energy by refueling your fat stores. Also, it helps to reduce reactive oxygen species, and it helps to lower oxidation and lower inflammation, which is probably why I noticed a reduced amount of pain in my body. Essentially, there's a lot of evidence that shows ketones are actually antioxidants, or they have antioxidant-like effects. And if you're eating enough protein, you're giving and not to mention fat-soluble vitamins and nutrients like choline, you're actually giving your body all the materials it needs to produce glutathione, which is your body's master antioxidant. And it's actually the endogenous antioxidant glutathione that exogenous dietary antioxidants like vitamin C work to recycle. That's what their antioxidant effect is, that recycles glutathione. And so just giving your body the building blocks of glutathione on a regular basis is going to boost antioxidant activity, which is going to lower inflammation, lower oxidation. And when you have less inflammation, less oxidative stress, and more antioxidant activity, you have less damage and greater recovery from that damage. And so I recommend everyone to at least give this book a thorough read, and then maybe try it for yourself. Make sure you do the ketogenic diet properly, and you have nothing to worry about. Leave your questions in the comments down below. Let me know what you all think. Do you guys have any experience with the ketogenic diet as an athlete? And I'll talk to you on the next video.